Opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
Time now for the most listened to talk show in Vegas.
You think we're fighting, and I think we're finally talking.
Talking with those on the right, the left, and everywhere in between.
Quiet. Shut up and let me answer, okay?
Answer.
Pot him down, please, because this is another MAGA who doesn't understand how to have a conversation with somebody.
It's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
I'm kind of a big deal.
This show will make you laugh, make you cry, and it might raise Brian's blood pressure.
You know what, dude? People like you, all you do is make excuses for the orange turd, and I've had it.
All the smash and grabs and everything. Yeah, tell me, what race is doing that, first of all?
Okay, so you want to be a racist now. Okay.
What race is doing it? Seen it on the news?
I don't watch Klan TV like you do, sir.
Buckle up, because it's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
You're different. I like you.
Now, here's Brian.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Oh, by the way, I don't watch Klan TV. That's very true. Welcome to the show, Pushing the Limits, on a Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. A very windy Friday in Las Vegas, might I add. But I know all of you don't care because it's a national audience. But it's very cold and it's very windy in Vegas in the desert. Welcome to the show, everybody. A lot to get to, a lot to go over, including Donald Trump making some more strange comments about women on Fox and Friends this morning. We'll talk a little bit about that. Coming up a little bit later on in the program as well. A lot more stuff to get to. A lot more information in regards to the Brett Baier interview. Brett Baier's interview with Kamala Harris. He's sort of admitting he made a mistake, but he's not apologizing. We'll talk about that. We'll get to that a little bit more. And Maria Bartiromo on Fox News almost looks like she's crying when she's talking about how great the stocks are on the NASDAQ, and it's almost looks like she's going to have a mental breakdown. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And again, Trump making some more strange comments about Kamala Harris and her race. Yes, he can't get off that topic. What the hell was Donald Trump wearing underneath his ass on Fox News, too? Did you see that black blanket that he was wearing, that he had underneath? Anyway, he made an appearance on Fox News earlier today. Donald Trump making an appearance this morning on national television, and it was on Fox News, and it was really weird because they're all sitting on that white couch. Keep that away from J.D. Vance. And on that white couch, he has this little black blanket underneath him. It was almost as if, in case he has an accident, like it's something you would do with like a dog, you know, or a circus clown or something. I don't know. It was just really weird. So that was strange to start the interview. And he said a lot of weird things in the interview this morning. But I want to play this clip first because it's really bizarre. He's talking about women and he's talking about abortion. Have a listen to this.
I think I do very well with women, and I think it's all nonsense. I see the polls, and we do well.
What about the
You have one issue. You have the issue of abortion. Without abortion, the women love me. Now, they like me anyway because what I've done is so good. I've taken this issue out of the federal government.
That's a really strange statement. Without abortion, the women love me. Without sexually abusing women and rape, would they love you too? I'm just saying, without being a liable sexual abusing rapist and sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll in a dressing room, would they still like you?
I am your protector. I will make you safe. You will be protected, and I will be your protector.
Yeah, he definitely protected E. Jean Carroll, didn't he? What a protector, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just wondering, listen, I'm just asking questions here, right? Listen, I'm a respected journalist. I'm just asking questions. I mean, if not for Trump's ex-wife, who has since passed away, who claimed that he raped her in a court deposition under oath, and then Donald Trump paid her to silence her, I don't know, would he still be a protector of women?
Without abortion, the women love me.
Yes, they do. Absolutely. They would love you if not for abortion and not for the fact that your ex-wife claimed that you raped her. Do we remember what Jessica Leeds said? Yeah, Jessica Leeds is the woman who said in a plane sitting next to the orange turd himself, Donald Trump grabbed her, tried to kiss her, ran his hand up her skirt as they sat next to each other aboard a jet. She said that she was traveling for work when she was invited to sit in first class and took a seat next to Trump, who said she talked about himself nonstop before groping her.
I am your protector. I will make you safe. You will be protected, and I will be your protector.
Yeah, because if not for sexually abusing Jessica Leeds on a plane, he would be protecting all women, and all women would love him, right? Of course. So do you remember when Donald Trump bragged about sexually assaulting women? He's talked about grabbing women by the kitty cat. It's interesting because Melania Trump recently was on Fox News, and she says, Donald Trump treats men and women the same. I'm just wondering, have you ever heard Donald Trump bragging about grabbing men by the private parts? Have you ever heard that before? I haven't. He said, when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. He added seconds later, grab them by the P word. You can do anything.
Without abortion, the women love me.
Yes, they love you. Without grabbing women by the kitty cat, they would also love you. Donald Trump once said, if Hillary Clinton can't satisfy her husband, what makes her think that she can satisfy America?
I am your protector. I will make you safe. You will be protected, and I will be your protector.
Yes, of course. The protector of all women also said, it must be a pretty picture, you dropping to your knees, Trump said to a female contestant in 2013 on an episode of Celebrity Apprentice.
Without abortion, the women love me.
Yes, they love you. Without abortion. Remember what Donald Trump said about Megyn Kelly? And listen, I am not a Megyn Kelly fan by any stretch of the imagination. I think she's a complete right-wing imbecile. However, on a presidential debate stage, Donald Trump said, you can see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever, in this interview back in August 2015.
I am your protector. I will make you safe. You will be protected,
yes,
and I will be your protector.
What a protector. I mean, listen, if you're a woman in the United States of America and you think this guy's going to be your protector, that's like being a child saying that Jeffrey Epstein is my protector. He also went on to say, look at that face. This is when he was talking about Carly Fiorina. Do you remember that when she was running for president? He said, look at that face. Would anyone vote for that? You can imagine that. The face of our next president. I mean, she's a woman, and I'm not saying bad things, but really, folks, come on. Are we serious? This was Trump back in 2015. Look at that face.
Without abortion, the women love me.
Yes, of course, they love him. He also said it doesn't really matter what the media writes as long as you've got a young and beautiful piece of ass. Donald Trump said that in an interview with Esquire magazine back in 1991.
I am your protector. I will make you safe. You will be protected,
yes,
and I will be your protector.
He's the protector, ladies and gentlemen, but you just have to have a young and beautiful piece of ass around him, according to Donald Trump. He also said that a person who is flat-chested on the Howard Stern show, it's very hard to be a 10, okay? This was an interview that Donald Trump did with Howard Stern back in September of 2005. Again, a person who's flat-chested is very hard to be a 10. Well, I guess that means that Donald Trump couldn't be a 10 because he's certainly not flat-chested.
Without abortion, the women love me.
Yes, of course. He once said, I saw a woman who was totally beautiful. She was angry that so many men were calling her, how dare they call me, it's terrible. They're all looking at my breasts. No, not Donald Trump's breasts. So she had a major breast reduction. This is a quote from Donald Trump. The good news, nobody calls her anymore. Nobody even looks. And not only that, it was a terrible job. Donald Trump once said to Howard Stern back in 2008.
I am your protector. I will make you safe. You will be protected, and I will be your protector.
In talking about Rosie O'Donnell, Donald Trump said, somebody who's been very vicious to me, Rosie O'Donnell, I said very tough things to her, and I think everybody would agree that she deserves it and nobody feels sorry for her. Trump said, and defending his comments of calling her ugly and other statements back in September of 2016.
Without abortion, the women love me.
Yes, of course. And I'm going to repeat this again because I think this is really important. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 30-plus women that have accused Donald Trump of sexual assault. He is a liable sexual abuser, a 34-count felon who has 5 kids with 3 different women. He has never been faithful to any woman, his entire life. And he spends time every single day attacking women, at times attacking women on looks. He certainly has attacked women of color. And this is the guy this morning, in regards to abortion, said this.
Without abortion, the women love me.
Yeah. By the way, abortion is the number 2 on the list of most men and women in this country. It's the number 2 issue. And he says, without abortion, women love me. Maybe without rape, women love you. Maybe without being a liable sexual abuser and sexually assaulting a woman in a dressing room, people might love you. Maybe without storming into locker rooms when you were running beauty pageants and storming into teenage girls' locker rooms, openly admitting why they were dressing and undressing without getting permission. Maybe women would love you. By the way, Donald Trump bragged about that on the Howard Stern show. So, ladies and gentlemen, when Donald Trump on Fox News today, without abortion, women would love me. We're doing very well with women. No, you're not. You're not doing well with women. You're the reason why Roe versus Wade was overturned. You still brag about it today, and your defense is, we'll just leave it up to the states. And then the states execute these absurd laws like a 6-week abortion ban and telling a woman what to do with her body. Because let's be frank and let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just Donald Trump that doesn't trust women. It's almost the entire base of the MAGA Republican Party. They don't trust you. They don't trust you what to do with your own body. They don't trust infectious disease experts. They want to attack drag queens and drag queen reading. They don't trust teachers. They certainly don't trust minorities, like Charlie Kirk, who said, when I get on a plane and I see a black pilot, I guess I'm going to worry if they were trained properly. They don't trust minorities. They don't trust women. And if you don't believe me, look at the Republican Party today. How many minorities are in the Republican Party today? Sure, there are some. Even Kevin McCarthy admitted this. The Democrat Party looks like America. The Republican Party looks like a Klan cult. Just go to one of Donald Trump's rallies. You go to a Donald Trump rally, and it's predominantly uneducated, middle-aged, white people, a bunch of idiots. If you go to a Kamala Harris rally, which I will be going to tomorrow at a local high school here in Las Vegas where Obama will be speaking, I guarantee you it's going to look like the country. It's going to be diversity. It's going to sound like this radio show because I get diverse calls and intelligent and informed people all across the country and the world every single day. And trust me, that humbles me, and I'm so appreciative. I wouldn't want it any other way. And when I go to rallies, that's what I want to see. I want to see a rally that looks like America, not a rally that looks like a David Duke Klan rally. And that's what the Trump rallies look like. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. So Donald Trump can sit here and say, well, the women love me, if not for the abortion issue, which, by the way, is one of the biggest issues on all Americans' minds heading into the elections next month. And Donald Trump is the reason why Roe versus Wade was overturned. He's the one who appointed those Supreme Court justices. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he listened to his stupid right-wing, radical, evangelical friends. It's why the Republicans had a horrible 2022 midterms, and in my opinion, it's why one of the main reasons why he's going to lose in the elections in a little over 2 weeks. So while all this other stuff is going on, right, we have this. If not for abortion, they would love me. While he has this, looks like some sort of weird black blanket that he was sitting on in case he urinates, or that's something that you would give a dog or a monkey. Or in this case, an orangutan. Very strange, ladies and gentlemen. So while all this stuff is going on, Donald Trump appeared on this podcast with this right-wing buffoon, Patrick Bet-David. Have you heard of this guy? Absolute right-wing buffoon. And you cannot make this stuff up. You cannot. Donald Trump is blaming Vladimir Zelenskyy and Joe Biden for the war in the Ukraine. Puts no blame at all on Vladimir Putin, but puts the blame on Zelenskyy and Joe Biden. Have a listen to this.
I think Zelensky is one of the greatest salesmen I've ever seen. Every time he comes in, we give him $100 billion. Who else got that kind of money in history? There's never been. And that doesn't mean I don't want to help him, because I feel very badly for those people. but he should never have let that war start. That war's a loser. Ukraine, remember, is not Ukraine anymore. Every city almost is knocked down to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
All those beautiful golden domes are laying on their side, smashed to smithereens. There's no city. You go into the city and every building is demolished. It looks like a demolition crew went through. They've been hit by missiles. This should have been settled before it started. It would have been so easy. If we had a president with half a brain, it would have been easy to settle. And I'm not, everyone would say, oh, this is terrible. He's blaming Biden. Well, I do largely blame Biden. If you watch his words were the exact opposite of what he should have been saying.
Mm-hmm.
He instigated that war.
No, sir, you instigated January 6th. He didn't instigate a war. If you notice in that statement, he doesn't mention Vladimir Putin's name once. I don't know if it's because he's afraid to, or for some weird reason he admires Vladimir Putin, or he owes a lot of money to the Kremlin. I have no idea. But he never blames Vladimir Putin for anything. He's the first to blame Joe Biden for the war in the Ukraine, which is, by the way, outrageous. And then he starts blaming Zelenskyy. Oh, well, I really feel bad for those people. But, I mean, this is just absolutely and positively absurd and ridiculous. But this is par for the course for Donald Trump. Very strange, very bizarre, very peculiar. But again, he goes on this podcast, and then he can't leave it alone, and he can't stick to policy, right? I have all these surrogates on that say, well, let's talk about the future. Let's talk about policy. Well, your own orangutan leader refuses to do so, and then he goes back into the race bit with Kamala Harris turning black. Have a listen to this.
Really like me. And I think black women do too, but they have a woman who is black, although you would say she's Indian, but she is black. But she really, a lot of people didn't know, which is true. But
I learned about it just a couple months ago. The fact
that she's black,
yeah.
Or that she's Indian.
The fact that she's black, I thought she was Indian until a couple months ago. Things change.
A lot of people. Well,
because if you follow baseball, Sammy
right.
Sosa kind of, you sometimes have to respect people. They change, right? So I thought maybe she was doing a Sammy Sosa the other way.
Yeah,
around.
Sammy's changed.
Right.
People change.
If you remember Sammy Sosa,
he could hit the ball.
He could hit the ball 66 home runs.
Seriously, really like me. And I
Oh
think
my God! What a bunch of complete imbeciles! What a bunch of complete imbeciles! What a bunch of fools! Patrick Bet-David is just as bad, by the way. Oh, I didn't know that she was black until a couple months ago. You're an idiot. That's why. You're an idiot. Her father's from Jamaica, you tool racist buffoons, you, both of you. She didn't turn black. And just because, oh, I didn't know she was black until a few months ago. Well, because you're a moron. That's why. You're a moron. What a bunch of two racist imbeciles sitting there. We got one orangutan who claims that Kamala turned black. We got another moron who hosts a podcast. I didn't know she was black until 2 months ago. It's just like the same idiots, the a-holes that said, boy, I didn't know Barack Obama was born in this country until 5 years later, when it was Donald Trump who started that whole racist birther issue. These two people can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. And I didn't know she was black. Oh, my God. I didn't know Donald Trump was white until a month ago because he always wears 8 layers of orange makeup. I thought he was an orangutan. That's how stupid these people are. It's so dumb. Speaking of dumb, it just gets worse and worse. I always had like a little respect for Brett Baier. Not a lot of respect. See, I'm doing the Donald Trump stuff now. Not a lot of respect. I had a little respect for Brett Baier. I have 0 now. 0. Because he's lying to all of you. We know that he played a clip, and in the clip, we know that Donald Trump said that he was going to take our military to attack some of his political opponents and attack members of the media and just American citizens. There is quotes and audio of Donald Trump saying this. So Brett Baier admits he made a mistake. Do you hear an apology? Listen to the actual defense of Brett Baier. He doesn't say it was done on purpose, which clearly it was. Fox News does this all the time. He says it was a mistake and doesn't apologize. Have a listen to this.
Harold, I did make a mistake, and I want to say that Mistake. When I called for a soundbite, I was expecting a piece of the enemy from within, from Maria Bartiromo's interview, to be tied to the piece from your town hall, Harris, where you asked the former president about the enemy from within. It just had the piece about the town hall, and just take a listen to what I meant to roll.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
My point is that we asked him the question about that sentence and what he was trying to mean.
Yeah, but you didn't play the quote that you just played just now. You didn't play the quote where he said he was going to take our military and go after people that he doesn't like, members of the media, or as he says, the crazy left. No, you see, that wasn't a mistake, because if it was a mistake, the producers behind the scenes would have played that clip. You would have said, Brett, we need to play the clip. We played the wrong clip. But you didn't do that because you guys didn't have that clip, because you guys are a bunch of liars. Brett Baier, you're a snake. You're a liar. You didn't play it on purpose. And now all of a sudden, Kamala Harris responded with an absolutely great, appropriate answer that you are basically lying. I'm paraphrasing here. You're not playing the quotes. And then the next day, it takes you 24 hours or 2 days to admit something, and you didn't even really admit it. You didn't apologize. You said, oops, we made a boo-boo. We made a mistake. No, it wasn't a mistake when you guys were sued for $800 million with the Dominion voting machines, and you intentionally lied about Dominion voting machines. That wasn't a mistake. And this isn't a mistake either. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely and positively ridiculous. And this is J.D. Vance, by the way, who was asked about the enemy within statement. And J.D. Vance answers in front of his crowd with a bunch of boos. Have a listen to this.
KDKA TV News. Trump references the enemy from within. Would a Trump administration use the military to go after people who oppose Donald Trump?
Oh, of course not. Of course not. Look, if you go back to the summer. Look, ma'am, I'm glad you asked the question, because I think it's so preposterous. First of all, the biggest problem that we have in this country right now is that because of Kamala Harris, people can't afford groceries and housing. We've got to fix that problem. That's why Donald Trump and I are running to redeliver prosperity for the American people. The second biggest problem we have in the United States of America is that we've got 25 million illegal aliens, many of them who have committed violent crimes who shouldn't be in the United States to begin with. And by the way, those are the issues that Pennsylvanians care the most about. When you go out and talk to them, you look at the polls, we ought to be talking about how to redeliver peace and prosperity for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. That's what President Trump and I are focused on.
Yeah, right. It's interesting, isn't it? Because the question wasn't about groceries. The question wasn't about housing. The question wasn't about policies you disagree with. The question was specifically about, and it was very specific, by the way, about the former president of the United States saying he wanted to use the military to go after the crazy left, the enemy within. That was the question. And then the deplorables start booing as if that's not an appropriate question, which absolutely it is. But of course, J.D. Vance doesn't answer the question, just like he refuses to answer who won the 2020 election. Just like I have these surrogates on the show who refuse to answer the question, who won the 2020 election. This is a constant for me. It happens all the time. So I'm not surprised that J.D. Vance refused to answer the question. And I'm not surprised that Donald Trump says that he's going to use retribution, and in this case, use our military to go after the crazy left. And you shouldn't be surprised either, because that is a wannabe dictator. Now, whether he would actually do that or not, I don't know, but that's irrelevant. He's talking about doing it. That incites violence, and that should be enough for you to say, I'm not going to support this guy in November. Can you imagine if Joe Biden said, I'm going to use the military to go after a bunch of crazy right-wing Republicans? Can you imagine what Republicans would be saying about that today? It'd lead the news on every right-wing entity for weeks. But Donald Trump says it, and it's almost like it's not even covered by the media. He said he plans to use the military to go after the crazy left, or as he would say, the enemy within. If that doesn't bother you, I don't know what will. And then finally, speaking of Fox News, NASDAQ way up. Stocks way up. Manufacturing jobs way up. Unemployment way down. The price of eggs, the price of bread, inflation way down, under 3%. But you see, rarely, but on occasion, when they report on this stuff, it's very rare that they ever do. It's almost like they're disappointed because many of these MAGA Republican idiots and the entities, like Fox News, they don't want Joe Biden to succeed. They don't want America to succeed unless Donald Trump is president. Haven't listened to Maria Bartiromo, who looks and sounds like she's discussing a mass shooting or a tragic event. Instead, she's talking about the Dow hitting record numbers yesterday. Have a listen to this.
Look at this market. The Dow scoring the 38th record close yesterday, now sitting at 43,077. What's your take in terms of allocating money right now?
Well,
what do you want to do before the election?
You know, if you believe Trump will win, then you stay with financials and you stay with small caps. If Trump does not win, think about higher taxes and think about an even slower economy because a lot of this stuff is not stimulative. It's going to slow things down even more regulations, less stimulus. So, you know, it's really, you've got to make a decision on who you expect to win. And I think that lead in, I mean, yesterday's performance was really about some swing in the polls.
Yeah. Do you think, investors are focused on this election and making bets around it?
Massively focused on the election.
And you think they think Trump will win?
I think right now that is the bet, yeah.
And that's why we're talking about record highs.
Exactly. Yeah. Because less regulation, more stimulus. You know, look, you can argue about tariffs a zillion different ways, but people expect that that's going to help America be more competitive.
Mark, you agree with that?
Without a doubt, yeah. And when you look at just the performance of Trump favored sectors. You look at energy, less regulation has done very well. You look at financials, have done very well, less regulation. Consumer discretionary, strong consumer has done well. Crypto has done well. And Stanley Druckenmiller, I believe it was yesterday, said that the market right now is pricing in a Trump victory based on the performance of bank stocks and crypto.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah. Are you listening to what these three stooges are saying on Fox News? They are saying that the reason why the Dow is so high and the stocks are way up and you know, the economy has been heading in the right direction, all that stuff, is because people are putting more money into their stocks and the economy is doing well. Why? Because they believe Donald Trump is going to win the election. I mean, you can't get any dumber than these three frickin' idiots. Now, if Donald Trump was president, they'd be doing nothing but praising Donald Trump. Oh, he's done such a great job. It's because of this. It's because of that. But you appear on Fox News with these imbeciles who have no credibility at all, and they'll make it sound like the only reason why the economy is doing well and the only reason why the Dow is, hitting more record numbers. Why? It's because people think that Donald Trump is going to win the election. How could anybody listen to these idiots and believe a word that they say? Maria Bartiromo and Fox News as a whole are a bunch of imbeciles, inbreds. They have absolutely zero credibility. And I'm sick of it, quite frankly. And I'm sick of people that actually believe what they spew. All right, it's the most interactive show in Las Vegas. It's probably one of the most interactive shows in the country. And I want to hear from you. We're going to open up the phone lines when we come back at 702-221-7283. And if the lines are busy, keep trying. We'll get to as many calls as we can. I would also ask you to please check out my new website. I get emails from people every day that support the show, and they tell me, how could I be more involved? What can I do to help you? Well, as I tell all of you, this is an independently owned radio show. What does that mean? We rely on people like you. So the first thing you can do, sign up for my YouTube, @PTL Radio Show. That's free. @PTL Radio Show on YouTube, @PTL Radio Show on X. Check out my new website, pushingthelimits.live. And again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. We sell merchandise on there in the shopping section, shirts, hats, beanies, you name it, we sell it. If you don't want to buy merchandise, Take you 2 minutes of your time. Right on the front page there at pushingthelimits.live, you'll see a button that says donate. $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever you can afford, we appreciate a great deal, and we thank you in advance for that. Pushingthelimits.live. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to hear from you. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this, and my question to you, of course, is what do you make of Brett Baier's mistake? Is he lying, or is he telling the truth? Want to hear from you? We'll hear from you next, right here on KSHP.
I am your protector. I will make you safe. You will be protected, and I will be your protector.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering and what we see today. I am running to fight for your values, faith, family, and freedom.
Ron Quince stands for safe borders, lower taxes, and lower prices.
Let's take our country back, one community, one vote at a time. I am Ron Quince, and I'm asking for your vote because every vote matters. I am Ron Quince, and I approve this message.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
I'm Shelley Berkeley, and I approve this message.
Shelley Berkeley, a proud Las Vegan who shatters barriers, becoming the first in her family to attend college, and served as UNLV's student body president, serving in the Nevada legislature, the University Board of Regents, and 7 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. Shelley excelled as the senior VP of the Toro University system. Shelley Berkeley, a dedicated mother and family woman. Shelley has the experience we need as our next mayor. Shelley gets things done.
Paid for by Shelley Berkeley for mayor.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. Nicole Mitchell's going to be joining us in hour number 2. We have a Harris Waltz Barack Obama rally in Vegas tomorrow. Of course, I will be attending, and I'll bring you all the details when we come back after the weekend on Monday. The Mooch, Anthony Scaramucci, is going to be joining us next week. Former presidential candidate Joe Walsh is going to be joining us next week, and many more surprises from the Harris and possibly Trump campaign will be joining us next week as well. I want to remind you guys, the official gaming bar of the Pushing the Limits radio show is Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Great promotions this month. Several of them, including the Pass the Puck contest during Vegas Golden Knights game, to an opportunity to win free slot play, I believe up to $500 per period. And also, if you earn 350 points any Sunday between noon and 8 a.m., 350 points is not that hard to attain, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to get $50 in free slot play. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Check them out and tell them that I sent you. I promised all of you that I would get right to our phone calls. It is funny because there are some right-wing shows in this town that struggle to get 2 calls the entire show. And every segment they always say, the phone lines are open, the phone lines are open. Please call in, please, please, please. I love the fact that I don't have to beg for calls because all of you are so interactive and so awesome that you always call in, and the phone lines are always full, which they're full right now. All right. Who are we going to first here? 702-221-7283. Let's go to Ken. Ken is first up on PTL. What's up, Ken?
Brian, hey, it's Ken from Connecticut. Nice to meet you.
Hey, what's up, Ken? How you doing?
A couple of things. First of all, Brian, Patrick Bet-Davis, you should go on him because a couple of the other internet guys were on there. Pac-Man and Neil deGrasse Tyson was on there. Made
I wouldn't be as I like Pac-Man, by the way, but I wouldn't be as nice as them. I think David is a racist bigot. He's a bigot.
You would tear him to pieces.
Yeah, he's an imbecile. I mean, he's a complete imbecile who sits on his ass there and coddles Donald Trump. And he tries to, there's a difference between trying to get people going in an interview and actually being factually accurate. I think there's a way to do that by being factually accurate. I think Bet David is another one of these right-wing clowns that only cares about clicks. That's all he cares about.
Yeah. The new poly market, it's a new online prediction market. They're skewing the polls because they're manipulating with the paid influencers. A lot of people are looking at the polls and going, the polls are going down, the polls are going down.
Sure.
They're really not.
So here's my advice. Here's my advice, and you can tell me whether you disagree or not. I don't think any of us should be looking at any polls. We all have to assume, let's all assume that it's going to be a very close contest. It's going to be very close, this election. Let's not be worried about any polls. Let's let Kamala Harris keep doing what she's doing. She's campaigning hard, doing a better job than Hillary did, by the way. She is in those battleground states, and she's working hard. And we need to work hard as well and spread the word and continue to talk to people and make sure we vote and get as many people as possible to vote against Orange Man, right? I mean, we can't look at any poll.
100%.
Yeah.
Brett Baier was definitely lying.
Yeah.
He should be demoted to doing either traffic or weather for pushing the limits. That's mine.
Well, he'll probably get a raise at Fox News, right? But I actually I like that idea, Ken. I like that. Let Brett Baier do the weather for me on PTL. What do I do? I'll pay him in like fries and burgers. I'll pay him with food. That's what I'll do. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I know some people that do that, by the way. Let's go in the radio business. Let's go to Lloyd. Lloyd is next on PTL. Lloyd, what's going on?
Hi there.
What's up, Lloyd?
I'm from Maine. I just wanted to say that I think the Electoral College should go. I think it should be popular vote by the people.
I agree, but that'll never happen. You know why?
Yeah.
Because of
I know
Republicans.
why,
because of Republicans.
Yeah, well, Republicans, and you got to change the Constitution and all that.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah. It's too bad because I think it should be they give all the power to the California and the big states.
Right.
And that's the problem.
You know, when I argue with Republicans about this, the MAGAs idiots out there, and I say, what does it matter? Like, they think it should matter. I'll give you an example, right? And this is an extreme, but I'll give you an example. A woman's body. They think geography should control that. Like, well, if she wants to get an abortion, let her travel 600 miles. What does it matter where a woman lives? She should be allowed to do what she wants with her body. And what does it matter where you live when it comes to your vote? Your vote in Maine should be just as important as my vote in Las Vegas. It shouldn't matter where we live. We're citizens in the United States of America. Our vote should matter the same as the next. And these Republicans try to curl themselves into a pretzel. They'd never win presidential elections. They would have lost 7 of the last 8.
That's the problem. They're not that popular, really.
No, they're not. No, they're not. And you know what I hate when people say, even on CNN, oh, well, half the country doesn't agree with Kamala Harris. No, more than half the country it does not support Donald Trump. More than half the country are not MAGA Republicans. So I can't stand it when they make those claims because it's not true, man. It's not true.
You know, the MAGA Republicans, you say they're dumber than hell, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard them talk. You know what I mean?
They can't even put two sentences together.
Oh, yeah. When they interview them, you get 5 or 6, and they don't really say anything.
Yeah, I feel bad for some of them. They're all very special. They're very special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One guy said that we should have a dictator, and Trump should be a dictator.
Well, I mean,
come on.
These are some of the most dumbest and despicable people that America has to offer, my friend, and I really do appreciate the call. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Audrey. Audrey's next. What's up, Audrey?
Hey, hi. How you doing?
Hey, good, Audrey. What's on your mind?
Question for you.
Yes.
This is something that's been bothering me for a while. Watch your show. Fabulous.
Thank you.
I agree with that caller that says you should go really public and put these people in their place. If you have the information, needs to get out there. That's my point. Why do you think or know why the Democratic Party is being so nice and politically correct all the time?
Well, it's a good point.
Why are they being soft?
It's a good point, and I'm going to give you an example. I am a fan. I admire Michelle Obama very much so. She's a very intelligent lady, beautiful, talented, educated. I really admire her. Here's where I respectfully disagree with her. Doesn't mean we have to stoop down to Donald Trump's level, but when she says when they go low, we go high, that might have worked 8 years ago, Michelle. It's not working now, and it's part of the reason why Hillary lost in 2016. I'm not saying you demean someone because of race or sexuality. You never go that route, and I'm not saying you go anywhere near that, the stuff that Donald Trump does. However, you need to call out these MAGA Republicans for who they are. You need to call Donald Trump over and over again a liable, habitual sexual abuser and liar. Listen, sometimes I make fun of Bernie Sanders because he's a nice, funny old guy, and he's a habitual liar. Bernie came on the show last week. I like Bernie, but I like the fact that he keeps saying that because it's true. Donald Trump is a habitual liar. I wish. Listen, Kamala has started to be a little bit more aggressive with this, which I like, but I hope it's not too late. Because the Democrats,
I just don't, and I don't think it should be up to just Kamala, because then being a female and being a retired police officer in a major city, I know how that goes out. We get aggressive, and right away it's like, oh, they're on the rag.
But Donald Trump, but Donald Trump would definitely disagree with you. I mean, this is what there's no question, right?
No.
Yeah.
We don't listen to Donald Trump. He's a blithering idiot.
Oh well,
I guess
no
what
question
I'm getting
about that.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is that, for example, and I'm going to put this in the Reader's Digest version. I just dated myself. Basically, Obama worked for 8 years to really clean up a lot of messes. And really did, I feel, a great job.
Oh, I completely agree with that statement, my dear. I got to get to some other callers. I think we have Bernie Sanders on the line. Do we have Bernie on the line?
We have a president who is a pathological liar.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sanders. I appreciate that. Have a good day. 702. Thank you for the call, dear. 702-221-7283. By the way, ladies out there, I know a lot of ladies listen to this show. Donald Trump says if not for abortion, he wouldn't have any problems with women. They'd all like him. Maybe except for the ones that he raped. 702.
Without abortion, the women love me.
Yeah, of course. If not for abortion, the women love him. Yeah. Just that abortion, not a big deal, right? If not for abortion, the women love me. Not a big deal. That abortion issue aside, and the sexual abuse, and the 5 kids with 3 different women, and the cheating and the lying and bragging about sexual assault, if not for all that stuff, just put that stuff to the side for a moment. The women would love him.
I am your protector. I will make you safe. You will be protected, and I will be your protector.
It's funny. He talks about protection, but he never wears it. That's really weird. 702-221-7283, the number to call if you want to be a part of the show. Let's go to Becky. Becky is next up on PTL. What's up, Becky?
Hi, Brian. How you doing?
Hey, good. What's on your mind?
Two radio shows I only listen to every day, Howard Stern and Pushing the Limits.
Well, you know what? That means a lot, and I really do appreciate you saying. You're in good hands with Howard, I'll tell you that.
My question is how come the Democrats, the media, why aren't they pushing harder for Trump's medical records?
That's a good question.
Cognitive tests that he said are so perfect.
Yeah.
He obviously has dementia.
Yeah, sure.
He's unhinged. I really think they need to push it.
I agree.
Or we're going to end up with J.D. Vance.
I agree. Boy, that would be a nightmare. Speaking of his health, did you see that interview he did on Fox News this morning? What was that black cloth or whatever you would call it that he was wearing underneath his bottom? Almost like he can't control his I don't know, his
maybe in case his diaper leaks.
Yeah, that was. I don't know. I'm actually. You might be right.
Know.
I actually think that to me that's the only reason that I could come up with. Like, can he not control his own bowels? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that was very. You know, the thing is, and the reason why normally it wouldn't be important, but if that was Joe Biden that did that, it'd be leading on Sean Hannity's show, right? But if Donald Trump does it, it's par for the course, right? Oh, that's okay. If he crapped
Well,
live
they
on
pushed
Fox News, they
so
wouldn't even
hard,
talk
yeah.
about it. Yeah, they wouldn't talk about it.
They said Joe Biden is old, he's decrepit, he can't do anything.
Right, right. Meanwhile, can you imagine Donald Trump on a bicycle? Can you imagine Donald
God.
Trump walking on a golf course? Can you imagine Donald Trump jumping on a trampoline? Wow, that would be very exciting. Oh my goodness
I
gracious!
say let's get a relay race with Kamala Harris and Donald Trump.
I tell you what, Kamala
She'll
is
beat the pants
she
off.
takes care of herself. She looks great. I mean, I
I
can't.
know.
Her age, I'm like, wow, she takes care of herself. She looks phenomenal. And Donald
And
Trump
he's
is
jealous.
Yeah, and Donald Trump once said, I'm better looking than her. The guy wakes up in the morning, the morbidly obese orangutan wakes up in the morning. He puts on his 8 layers of orange makeup with his 4 hair transplants, and he looks like a circus clown. And I mean no disrespect to circus clowns, by the way. I'm sorry if that offends you. I don't mean to offend you. He looks like an orangutan. That's what he looks like, with his weird hair, his fake teeth, his fake tan, his 8 layers of orange makeup. He looks like a clown because he is a clown. He's a rapist clown is what he is. 702-221-7283. Don't let Donald Trump anywhere near Circus. Don't let him there, the pedophile, because I know the Republicans like to call Democrats pedophiles. Interesting. Donald Trump was on the Jeffrey Epstein flight log 7 times. I don't think Joe Biden or Kamala Harris spent any time.
I am your protector. I will make you safe. You will be protected.
Yes.
And I will be your protector.
Yeah, he's your protector, ladies and gentlemen. He's your at least the women. He's definitely your protector. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Jack. Jack is next up on PTL. What's going on, Jack?
Hey, good day to you, Brian. Listen, I think it would have been too obvious if they would have swapped out to a brown couch this morning. Somebody would have picked up on that.
So you have hear me out on this, okay? Couches are a bad word around both of these candidates, right? I mean, J.D. Vance seems to be aroused by couches, and Donald Trump seems to use them as toilets. So, I mean, the campaign needs to talk about this. They seem to have a problem. They're not polling well with couches. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's cool. The whole thing with the Brian Kilmeade thing, it's even more sinister than we're making it out to. This is why I brought it up when we talked about it previously. They had that queued up, premeditated in the event that they knew she was going to bring that up. So they said, here, we'll splice this up so then you'll play it. So and meanwhile, he's listening to it real time with her. Yeah. So for him to not pick up on that the other part of it wasn't included, it's a load of bullshit. And the fact that he comes out the next day and apologizes or whatever.
He didn't even apologize.
He
didn't even do that.
Exactly.
Of course they did.
Yeah,
listen, you are absolutely right. Let me explain to people. You have like 20 people behind the scenes doing that interview. You have producers, you have sound people. They knew exactly what clips they had ready to go. And if they had made a boo-boo and made a mistake like the liar Brett Baier claims, they would have been able to play that clip, and Brett Baier would have said, okay, Madam Vice President, we have that clip available. He didn't do that because they didn't have it. The reason why they didn't have it is because they never were going to play it. The reason why they were never going to play it is because they're lying to the American people, which is what they do every day on Fox News. They lied. Brett Baier is a liar. Those on Fox News are liars, and they knew exactly what they were doing.
No, absolutely, man. I mean, that's why I was saying the part about the political assassination. Like they had her. They didn't want to ask her any real questions. They knew what she was going to say, and then they had these things. Like I'm surprised they didn't play more. I mean, they played something from his campaign. They played it was just it was not a good faith thing. And for anybody to think that Fox is going to give a good faith interview, that's my major beef with them.
I agree, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm still glad that Kamala Harris did it because, number one, she exposed Fox News, if you didn't already know. And number two, I thought she did a good job and she stood her ground. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is doing these fluffer interviews with the diaper underneath him, on morning shows on like Fox and Friends. He just canceled a CNN town hall. The Univision town hall was a disaster for him. He canceled a 60 Minutes interview. He doesn't want to debate Kamala Harris again. He's a draft-dodging coward. And the reasoning why he's canceling all these events, like an appearance with the NRA, the campaign has said it's because he's tired. Well, geez, I thought this guy was Superman. What happened? What happened? Donald Trump, ladies and gentlemen, is in the racist bigot bunker. 702, who can't control his bowels, apparently. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Claire. Claire is next on PTL. What's up, Claire?
Hey, Brian, this is Claire. Thanks to this election, I found your show, so I've been listening for the past 3 or 4 months or so. But hey, I was calling in just kind of to add to the previous caller, Becky's statement. So I have been an RN now for over 20 years. And so, you know, I've seen plenty of dementia and Alzheimer's and all that from working in the ER. And we all know that Mr. 45 himself has, you know, he's just basically been up to no good since 18 when he was draft dodging. But are you familiar with the Tom Girardi case in California?
I am not.
Okay, so he is a very, very high-profile lawyer who got in trouble for stealing millions and millions of dollars from his clients. And so I think he's like in his early 80s or so right now. But anyway, went to court and he started playing this dementia game all of a sudden, you know, trying to basically get out of his sentencing and, you know, to use medical diagnoses as an excuse. But I seriously think that that's what Trump's doing right now.
Perhaps, yeah.
No, I think
there's a reason, right? There has to be a reason why he refuses to release his medical records, because we know if it made him look good in any way, he would release them. The reason why he's not is because we know there's something in there that he doesn't want you to find out. And I agree with a few callers before who said you absolutely have to keep pushing him to release his medical records. Why won't he? Every other president releases their medical records. Why won't Donald Trump release his medical records? Very interesting, isn't it? 702-221-7283. Let's go to Ron. Ron is next up on PTL. What's up, Ron?
Hey, Brian. This is Ron. I talked to you a couple of times before. Love your show.
Thank you.
Yeah, just one thing. I think the enemy within is all the Nazis with the guns. We don't hear that much about that, but
well,
that's
Proud
really
Boys,
the problem.
Proud Boy members, the people that Donald Trump said to stand back and stand by, those with tiki torches, those who dress up in
dangerous.
they dress up in G.I. Joe outfits. These are the same idiots that never served the country, and they step outside in their G.I. Joe outfits like the insurrectionist cowards that they are, and they bash drag queen reading, and they think they're so tough, right? I mean, it's scary. It is scary because these people are lunatics. They're crazy. But yet if you talk to MAGA Republicans, they'll say they're trying to kill President Trump, when in fact it was a registered Republican and a former Trump supporter that tried to kill him.
Yeah. Well, it's why they want the guns.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They want to cause trouble.
We are a country that is obsessed with our guns. When you ask J.D. Vance on a vice presidential debate stage, and I wish Tim Walz pressed him on this, okay? But it's here nor there now. But J.D. Vance, when asked about school shootings, J.D. Vance said we need to harden our windows and our doors in our school. It is funny because it's so ridiculous.
Right.
And then when Donald Trump was asked about school shootings in the Univision event a few days ago, his response, we need guns for entertainment purposes. I'm not making this up. That's what he said. We need guns.
I heard it.
Yeah. I mean, and when you ask Democrats about guns, they actually want to come up with solutions, like Kamala Harris, who wants to do the same things that I think that we need to implement, which are an assault weapons ban. We need to get rid of assault weapons, the same types of weapons that are used in these mass shootings. We need to raise the age from 18 to 21. We need some mandatory training. You should have to re-register your gun. It should be treated like a vehicle. You should have to have a check your health and your eyesight and everything. But you see, when
the Republicans want to minimize the real danger,
right?
Which is all these crazy lunatics with, all these military weapons.
Correct.
They want to have.
Make no mistake about it, my friend. If you ask most Republicans, they think that drag queens are more dangerous than guns. They think that homosexuals having intercourse is more of a threat to this country than anything that Donald Trump has ever done in his life. That's why they're anti-gay marriage. Some of these people are gay, but they won't admit it. This is the Republican Party in 2024. They ban books. They talk about drag queen reading as if the sky is going to fall. They talk about how gay people are an abomination and they are sinners. They attack teachers. They make the case that critical race theory is being taught in every school, which it's not. It's not being taught virtually anywhere. And they make it sound like every teacher is indoctrinating our kids, which they're not. Telling a child it's okay to be who they are, gay or straight, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you ask somebody like Ron DeSantis, he thinks that's more of a threat to society than all the gun violence or what happened in Parkland, etc. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to join the show. Let's go to David. David is next on PTL. Hi, David.
Hi, Brian. Thank you. I was just calling about a couple callers ago. One of your callers was talking about, the Brett Baier, Kamala Harris interview. And I have a ton of problems with Fox. I think they're just a lying, terrible organization. But I mean, like, one of the first questions, it might have even been the first question that Kamala was asked, was a very straightforward question. It was, how many illegals have entered this country under the Biden-Harris administration? And she couldn't give a number. She absolutely refused to just give a specific. She wasn't like it was 5 million, it was 7 million, it was 1 million. Mm-hmm. She did whatever she could to just not give a number. Now, I'm not saying she has to know the literal number, but why couldn't she just give a general ballpark based on all the data that shows that millions of people have entered the country? And I think that it's just one quick point. I think it's because Kamala Harris is in this kind of strange position where she has to tell Americans, hey, we're going to fix all these problems, but then tell Americans, hey, everything's going great because of the Biden administration. Well, you got to pick one. It's like you can't say everything's great.
Let me respond. Sure. So let me respond. So yeah, she absolutely could have given out a statistic. She's running for office. I wouldn't have had a problem if she gave out a statistic. However, you could give out a statistic, but I think she keeps hammering this home, which is there was a bipartisan border bill that was set to be passed, and Donald Trump made sure that it wasn't. So if Republicans want to talk seriously about fixing our issues at the border, and it is a crisis, then why wouldn't they pass a bill that was endorsed by Border Patrol? Why wouldn't they pass a bill that was endorsed by MAGA Republicans? One man by the name of Langford, who Donald Trump once said was the best conservative in office dealing with the border, but yet Langford wanted to pass the bill. The only reason why is so Donald Trump. So I hear what you're saying in that Kamala Harris is not perfect.
Why do you think?
Well, it's very simple. The reason why she didn't, it's very simple because she wants to answer questions in a way that makes herself look good. Doesn't mean she has to lie, which, by the way, she didn't. But she also didn't directly answer the question. I wouldn't have had a problem if she did answer the question. Here's what Brett Baier's trying to do. He's trying to make the case that every single illegal that crosses the border, it's all on the Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. It's all on them. So what I would have preferred was
it's not all on them.
No, I understand. Yeah. I'm not saying you're claiming that.
Right.
Now, she could have given out a number, but then Brett Baier would have interrupted her when he gave her explanation as to why. I'm not trying to make excuses for Kamala Harris. I wouldn't have had a problem if she answered that. But at the same token, I didn't have a problem with what she said.
Well, the reason I had a problem with what you said is because, look, just be honest and say this is the number. And she could have at least said, hey, X amount came in under Trump and X amount came in under Biden, but she won't do that because she has no interest in actually telling Americans the truth. She's just interested in winning, which, granted, Trump is doing the same thing, but it's like I keep seeing these people saying.
I'm not sure I would make that analogy or comparison that they're both on an equal playing field as far as lies. Now, Kamala didn't.
The world famous radio shopping show.
Sorry about that. Kamala Harris didn't directly answer the question, but I wouldn't characterize that as her being a liar. Why do you call her a liar?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily like what I mean by lying is she just will not directly lie, but just work around actually answering the question. So yeah, maybe in the strict.
All right. So you made your point on that. Can you give me another example where you say, man, she is not being honest with the American people?
Okay, sure. So I mean, she and Biden, for more or less the first 3 years of their administration, kept playing it up as if the border is not a crisis, as if it's not a problem. They only waited until the last year, and then they started saying, yeah, this border issue is a problem. And the only reason they did that was because Americans kept polling that they were really pissed off at the border. They spent years saying the border's, it's not a crisis, it's not a problem, we got it under control. And they just waited until the situation became untenable.
Maybe I'm wrong on this, but I don't recall Joe Biden or Kamala Harris saying that it wasn't a problem. When did they say it wasn't a problem?
Biden's speaker that the black woman who's the speaker.
Okay, you're talking about Jean-Pierre, but you're specifically right. But you're okay. But hold on, let's backtrack. You're specifically talking about Kamala Harris. I don't recall Kamala Harris ever saying that the issues at the border were never an issue. Now, she did say they're not wide open borders, right? I mean, everyone says it's wide open, and that's also a lie.
Well, look, I mean, a border with holes in it is, if you have a fortified house but your main door is wide open, the house is more or less wide open. I mean, it's not
that's not true.
Actually wide
no,
open.
That's not true.
Yes,
the border's not wide
people
open.
enter, it's wide open.
No, wide open would mean it's wide open. Just because someone enters your home illegally doesn't mean your house is wide open. Just because people go through the border illegally doesn't mean the border is wide open. Now, we can do things to improve it. We can do things to make it more difficult for people to cross the border illegally. I'm with you on that. But hold on. But it's not wide open. And I'm sorry, sir, that's a lie. The border is not wide open. And Kamala Harris never said that everything was perfect at the border. She's never said it wasn't an issue. So I respectfully disagree with you on that.
Well, she doesn't have to say everything's perfect, but when they spent years they didn't literally say word for word, the border is secure. But what they did do was do everything they could for up until more or less 2024, late 2023. They just ignored the problem and continued to downplay it. Now, I get it. Politicians downplay things all the time. Trump downplayed every negative thing about his administration, but that doesn't absolve the current administration. And look, my other point is Trump is so hilariously unpopular, yet he's more or less neck and neck in the polling with Kamala. How bad did the Democrats screw up for them to possibly, I'm not saying she's going to
disagree,
lose, but for them to possibly lose to one of the worst candidates we've ever seen?
So you think that's the fault of Democrats? It's not the fault of ignorant, stupid Americans that don't understand policy, that can't name one policy under Donald Trump, that blame Kamala Harris and Joe Biden for all of our problems? You want to blame I'm not saying the Democrats are perfect. There's a lot of stupid people in this country, and there's a lot of those people that are going to be voting for Donald Trump. Now, listen, sir, with all due respect, the border is not we agree that there's issues at the border, no question. Could we have put this border bill in place earlier in Joe Biden's administration? No question. Is Joe Biden perfect? I'm not in Joe Biden's mind. Is he perfect? No, but I'll tell you one thing. I'm not a one-issue voter. I'll tell you one thing.
Right.
We have the lowest inflation of all the G7 countries in the world. He's done a damn good job bringing inflation down. He's done a damn good job with
he hasn't done a good job of bringing prices down.
Well, that's because
everything
the president
is still vastly expensive.
The president doesn't set the price of bread. I'm telling you that inflation is down under 3%.
I'm not saying inflation is down, but that's only after it absolutely obliterated everybody, and we're still paying.
And was it obliterated? Was it obliterated when Donald Trump left office? Whose fault was that?
It was, partly his administration.
Thank you. Okay, so we have the war in the Ukraine. We have the war. We're coming out of a pandemic. That's not Joe Biden's fault. I don't know why, with all due respect, you guys want to blame Joe Biden for that. I just said our inflation is under 3%. We have records when it comes to NASDAQ. We have a bipartisan infrastructure bill that Donald Trump promised he would get done. He never got done. Oh, yeah, by the way, in 2016, speaking of the border, Donald Trump, he said he would build a wall and Mexico was going to pay for it. I don't see Kamala Harris and Joe Biden lying about the border or lying on their candidacy or lying when Joe Biden ran for office.
They lied through omission by just continuing to say it's not a problem.
And I just told you, Kamala Harris has never said on the record that the border was not a problem. You keep saying that, and it bothers me, sir. We can disagree.
Because she can significantly downplay it.
And give me you can generalize and say that she's downplaying something, but the important is the proof in the pudding. They put together a bipartisan bill. They negotiated with MAGA Republicans. Now, if you want to say it was a little too late, okay, they still tried to get it done. What the hell did Donald Trump do? Did he have a bipartisan anything when he was president of the United States? Build a wall. Mexico's going to pay for it.
The Mexico paying for it was ridiculous. Obviously, it didn't happen.
He campaigned on it.
Border crossings under Trump. I agree, but border
crossings under Donald Trump were lower.
Of what
exactly? We had something called
not just lower, way
and
lower.
Why? And there's something called cause and effect, which I just talked to you about. Right. We had something called COVID. You're not going to blame Donald Trump for COVID, even though his response to it was embarrassing.
That's partly. That's not just why people weren't crossing under Trump because they were afraid they were going to get deported under his administration. They were not afraid under Biden's administration.
And where is the
literally the day Biden got?
So you
the
think
evidence is in the fact that when Biden. Yeah.
So you think the reason why more illegals are crossing the border now has to do with the fact that they're not scared of being deported, but they were more scared under Trump. And you're discounting COVID. You're discounting the fact that we were
I'm not discounting COVID. I mean, because COVID came late into Trump's administration. When Biden came into office, he immediately rolled back a lot of policies. They even talked about it during Harris's Fox interview. He rolled back a lot of policies like, remain in Mexico and things like that. And why did they do that? Because they wanted illegals to come into the country.
No, I don't believe that. No, I don't believe that.
Well, then why did he roll them back? Why do you think Biden and Harris rolled it back?
Why do they want? Well, tell me why you think they want illegals in this country. Tell me why.
Because they know that Democrats sympathize with illegals and they believe that we should help people around the world, which I agree with, but you have to go through legal channels, and they know it's politically beneficial. At least it was.
So you think Joe Biden wanted millions of illegals in this country because, quote, Democrats like illegals? That's your reasoning?
I mean, why would they possibly allow all these people in and remove the policies that Trump had in place?
Okay,
why did they remove those policies?
So first of all, what I would say
it's not a rhetorical question. I'd like to know why you think that.
First of all, what I would say to that, number one, is I would like to think that most of these people are not bad people. They're not coming into this. Now, would I like them to come in legally, a legal process? Absolutely. Some of them have no choice. But I would like to think that there's something called compassion, and many of these people with their children and their families want to come in this country for a better life for themselves. I'm not saying I agree with every policy or that Joe Biden has done when it comes to the border. I'm not saying I agree with everything. What I am saying is this is not all his fault. The borders are not wide open. Kamala Harris, who is running for president, has never said that we don't have any problems at the border. Now, if you want to,
why did he remove the policy? Why do you think he removed the Remain in Mexico policy?
Well, I just told you why. I just gave you my reasoning why I feel.
Want to give people compassion?
I gave you my reasoning why I feel a certain way. I can tell you this: you have a better chance of being the victim of a crime, somebody that is a legal citizen in this country, than somebody that is illegal. But I want to ask you a question now, because we've talked about the border ad nauseum, and I disagree with you on a lot of the stuff, but that's fine. Who are you voting for? Who are you voting for next month?
Well, as I've explained to you in prior calls, I'm not going to vote for either one of them because I think both candidates are terrible.
Why do you think Kamala is terrible?
Because she's continuing the same broken administration that has been going on for the last several years.
What's broken about the administration?
What's broken is the fact that we elected a president who can barely function as a human, hence why he's not even running anymore, because he's so old and decrepit.
Okay, so he's so old and decrepit. He's so old. I don't understand. Are you a doctor? Like, I think we could agree that he's not the same man maybe he was 10 years ago.
I don't have to be a doctor to see that he's literally falling apart. I mean, you saw what he did at the
Okay, so hold on a second. You're talking about so you're talking about Joe Biden though, and the question was, are you voting for Trump or Kamala Harris? So I'd like to focus on the now. Why are you not voting for Kamala Harris? That has nothing to do with Joe Biden's health.
Well, it does because
no, it doesn't.
She continued to. Well, yeah, it does because for years she continued to just not talk about Biden's health. What, are we supposed to act like she didn't know this guy was falling apart and could barely function?
Okay,
she worked with him all the time.
You're
and
characterizing
you're
characterizing Joe Biden as barely functioning. He had a bad debate. I haven't seen anything from him.
It wasn't a bad debate.
Listen.
A bad debate is not where you collapse and say we beat Medicare.
All right,
That's
so
not a bad debate.
you're making a claim that Joe Biden can't function and Kamala was somehow lying at the fact that he can't function. I disagree with you on that. Give me a reason why you're not voting for Kamala. By the way, it's going to be Trump or Harris, okay? You have the right not to vote, okay? Yeah. But I'm wondering, what is it about Harris that you hate so much that you would stand out of this race when you have a man who is a 34-count felon, liable sexual abuser, who lies on a daily basis, who attacks everybody from POWs, brave men and women in uniform, to women on looks? And I'm trying to figure out why you can't.
I have a perfect answer for you, and it doesn't have anything to do with Trump. Maybe a week ago, Harris tweeted out something about how we're sending, hundreds of millions of dollars of aid to Lebanon, and it was hysterical because Lebanon's being attacked by countries that the U.S. is funding under Kamala. So under her genius strategy and Biden's genius strategy, we fund Israel, give them all this money, and then they attack countries, and then we give them aid. It's like, what the hell are you doing? You're going to fund someone
What country is Israel attacking that we're giving them aid? Help me out with that.
Well, she gave that aid package to Lebanon, or at least she said she wanted.
So right now,
and that's including Palestine. Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that we're aiding Palestine, and we're giving them a lot of aid, and we're also giving Israel. I'm sorry, I just disagree with you factually on that one.
What do you disagree with? It's
you're saying
what we're doing.
You're saying right now. Well, first of all, let me be clear on this.
Mm-hmm.
Hamas is the evil group that we are talking about here, and when they fund Israel, Israel is trying to defeat Hamas. They're not trying to kill every innocent Palestinian. So I want to be.
Well, that's very debatable.
Okay,
I mean,
so
they look.
No,
they
it's
are trying
not.
to defeat
Come
Hamas,
on,
but
man.
I mean, they've killed
Come
tons
on,
of
man.
innocent people.
And why are they doing
killed
that?
little
And why are
babies
they?
in hospitals.
And you think they're trying to kill innocent children in Palestine?
Yeah, actually, yeah, they are. It's actually very crystal clear because they know, hey, this little kid that we kill now isn't going to be an enemy 20 years from now.
There is
I
no
actually
evidence.
understand it in
There
terms
is
of
no
war. It's evil,
evidence.
but
There is no evidence, sir.
Yeah,
With all
there
due,
is.
no, there is
Yes,
not.
there is.
There is no evidence.
There's tons of Palestinian people saying that they're being brutalized by the Israeli.
Right, and those
army.
are the, and I'm sure those are the same Palestinian people that think that Israel should cease to exist. You're all over the place, man. I'm trying to get factually accurate information from you. You're making claims that Israel wants to kill all of innocent Palestinian people, and you're making claims that Kamala Harris is funding the people that Israel's trying to kill. No, Israel's trying to kill Hamas. It doesn't mean they're perfect. So I'm trying to understand.
Well, yeah, but they're literally, I mean, something like 8 or 9%, 8 to 10% of Palestine is effectively wiped off the map.
And by the way,
Kamala
Kamala Harris has not been the one to approve that aid. It's been Joe Biden. I'm asking you about Kamala Harris, who is still the vice
Kamala
president.
Harris, coincidentally, is part of that administration.
Okay,
it's not like she has no burden to bear on it.
she's the vice president, and she is not the one who sends off on funds. So I'm asking you again. You hate Kamala Harris. You think she's awful, just like Donald Trump. She's not a convicted felon. She's never been accused or even tried for a crime. She is a woman who's lived a pretty darn good life. She seems like she has a pretty nice family. She hasn't been accused of sexual assault. She's got no felonies on her record. I understand you don't agree with all of her policies. I'm never going to agree with every policy of every candidate. What is it about Kamala Harris that is so bad to you that you're like, I hate Trump and I hate Harris?
Well, respectfully, Brent, I literally just explained this whole war in Palestine and Lebanon and Israel.
But she never,
that we're funding both sides.
Okay, you say we. Okay, first of all, we're not funding Hamas.
US.
That's not true.
The US.
We're not funding Hamas. That
I didn't say
is
we're
not
funding Hamas. I didn't say that.
Okay, well,
I said
Hamas
we're funding Israel to kill. Yeah.
We are not funding Israel to kill innocent Palestinians. That's also not
Yes,
accurate.
we are.
No, we are not.
Yes,
In fact,
it's
no,
literally
we
happening.
are not.
Are you saying innocent Palestinians
There is a
are not
difference,
being killed by Israelis?
sir. There is a difference between Israel and deaths of innocent Palestinians that are done not intentionally, and our government saying, you know what, we are going to fund Israel so that they can kill innocent Palestinians. Can you not differentiate that difference? In war, innocent people die. You do understand that, don't you, sir?
Difference when almost 10% of Palestine has been killed. Almost 10%.
You do understand. You do understand.
10%.
Okay, so let me ask you a question then, since you think you know more than Kamala Harris, with all due respect. What do you think Benjamin Netanyahu should do since Hamas is infiltrating themselves among the innocent Palestinian people? What are they supposed to do?
Well, here's what I can say to that. Whatever he wants to do and Israel wants to do is their business. I don't think the U.S. should be funding this ridiculous war. That's not our business. And if Trump's in office, he'll do the same. He's made it clear he wants Israel to do that. If Kamala's in the office, she's going to do the same thing.
So according to you,
the same person in terms of foreign war.
So according to you,
I'm not voting for either one of them.
So according to you, we shouldn't give any financial aid to any of our allies at any time, anywhere, any place.
I didn't say that. Nope, I didn't say that.
So just if it's
Israel,
Israel,
we shouldn't give financial aid to Israel because of what they're doing.
So
they're not just killing Hamas. Look, I wish they were just killing Hamas.
So what are they
I'd
supposed to
agree with
do?
you.
What are they supposed to do then? How do they get Hamas? What are they supposed to do?
What they can do is do however they want to. It's their business.
However
it's
they
not
want
the
to.
US's
So it's not our business to help our allies when they had their own 9/11. Okay. Well, I would respectfully
So what
disagree
should
with you
we
on
do?
that.
Should we fund another 20-year war like Iraq and Iran and Iraq and Afghanistan and be over in that part of the world for another 2 decades and spend trillions of dollars? Is that really the answer?
Should we have not gone to Afghanistan after 9/11?
Look, I'm not a foreign war expert.
Neither am I. I asked you a question. Should we have not gone to Afghanistan after 9/11? I'm not an expert
I would
either.
say we should have, but
so in some cases we should. So if somebody attacks our country and kills a bunch of innocent people, it's okay for us to go there. But if one of our allies gets their 9/11, we don't help them at all. Is that your policy or foreign policy, sir? Because that's what it sounds like to me.
Context matters. I'm totally fine with helping allies, but you also have to say, A, at what cost, and B, what are those allies doing? And we're seeing what the cost is to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. And then we're also seeing what Israel is doing. I didn't even intend to make this phone call with you all about Israel. I'm perfectly willing to talk about it, but I'm just saying this is why I'm not supporting either one of them, because both candidates are all for this ridiculous nonsense war that the U.S. really shouldn't have involved.
Not true. In fact, if you actually listen, no, it's not true. If you actually happen to listen to Kamala Harris and her statements on this, she said that Israel has a right to defend themselves, but she is pushing and trying as hard as she can, and so is Joe Biden. You can laugh at, but you can let me finish.
It's just a generic, sure.
For a ceasefire, which I think most people want in this country, she wants a ceasefire, and I think most people would regard Kamala Harris and Joe Biden a little bit more tougher on Israel than Donald Trump and those on the far right. Don't you find it interesting that Donald Trump won't even say if he wants Vladimir Putin and Russia to defeat the Ukraine? Don't you find that utterly despicable? This is not equal in any way, shape, or form. You're entitled to your opinions, but Donald Trump won't even say whether he wants Ukraine to win the war. You don't have a problem with that, but you don't like policies of the Joe Biden administration. But yet you're not willing to vote for Kamala Harris because of for aid to Israel. Okay, fine. We'll agree to disagree on that. But that's enough for you to say I'm not going to vote for Harris either. So that's the part that confuses me.
Considering our country is literally broke, we're tens of trillions of dollars in debt, and what are we supposed to do? Send hundreds of billions of dollars, potentially over $1 trillion in aid.
Let's talk about that.
Countries.
Let's talk about money. Yeah. Let's talk about money. Donald Trump got us $8.2 trillion in debt in 8 years. Our economy is doing much better than it was.
4 years.
I'm sorry, in 4 years.
You said 8 years.
Even worse. Yes, correct.
I just made your argument.
$8.2 trillion he got us in debt in 4 years, right? And now, you can say what you want about the Biden and Harris administration when it comes to foreign affairs. But we are doing better than all the other G7 countries when it comes to inflation, when it comes to unemployment.
Yeah, but you're right, but that's a separate argument from saying we're actually doing good. We can be doing better than other countries which are not doing particularly well. That doesn't mean that we're doing good. Yeah, we're doing better than Italy and Germany and
Actually,
France.
it does. The Dow had record numbers just yesterday. Unemployment is the lowest it's been in 50 years. So yes, with respect, sir, we're doing pretty good.
Inflation's the highest it's been for years.
Inflation is under 3%. How many times do I have to keep telling you that?
Only after it was over 9% like 2 years ago, and Americans are still paying those prices.
And why? And you don't think inflation is going to go through the roof when Donald Trump, if Donald Trump becomes president of the United States again, with his policies on tariffs, with his policies on foreign affairs? You don't think that those numbers would climb? And you're not going to give Joe Biden any credit for where we're at right now?
Look, Biden can deserve credit for kind of getting it down. I mean, again, prices are still up and people literally can't afford to live in this country for a whole bunch of different financial reasons. If Trump was in office again, the reason that we put ourselves in this insane inflation period was because of COVID. That would have happened whether Biden, Trump, Harris, or anybody.
I understand what you're saying, but I want to ask you a serious question here.
Well, do you agree with that or disagree with that?
I disagree with a lot of what you're saying. I really do, sir. But I want to ask you a question. Sure. If today Donald Trump shot somebody on Fifth Avenue, would you still stay out of this presidential election? I'm just curious. Would you still not vote? If Donald Trump today murdered somebody on Fifth Avenue, would you still not vote for? I understand you don't like some of her foreign affair policies and you don't like her. Okay, I get that. Would you still stay out of this race? Is there anything that Donald Trump could do where you would say, geez, I really don't like Kamala Harris? The reason why I ask you this question, sir, is because I know a lot of Republicans that are voting for Harris, not like Liz Cheney. They're voting for her not because they like her policies. They disagree with her on probably more policies than maybe even you disagree with her on. But they're voting for Kamala Harris because they care about our democracy. And they believe that Donald Trump is more dangerous to this country. So I'll ask, if you shot somebody on Fifth Avenue, would you still not vote for Kamala Harris?
I would probably vote for her if he actually murdered somebody that I saw him kill somebody.
I'm glad to hear you say that. What if it was proven in court that he raped a woman? Would you still not vote for Kamala Harris?
Well, I would have to look at the evidence.
Okay.
Of what kind of court it was proved in.
Well, a jury of his peers found that he was liable for sexual abuse. The judge characterized it as rape. There's also 30 other women. Hold on.
A criminal court or civil court?
He was found liable is the word that I used. Hold on, I'm not done yet, though.
Right.
30 women have accused him of sexual assault or rape, including his ex-wife in court documents in a deposition. I ask you that question, sir, because at some point I think somebody would have to assume, boy, maybe he's done some bad things to women. That doesn't deter you at all?
I'd like some evidence to prove that.
Okay, well, guess what?
All these accusations are just accusations.
The liable abuse that was found
in which
in a court of law in New York City.
Which was what,
found,
civil or criminal?
As I said, liable is not criminal. It's a civil court, and they had to look at evidence, and they found that he was liable. So you don't believe that he's ever sexually assaulted a woman before?
I have not seen any evidence of that. And I'll explain why. And I'm not doing it just to go to bat. I can explain it if you let me. He was found in a civil court, which has a much less burden of proof than a criminal court. And he was in a state that openly admits that they hate this guy. It was clearly unfair against him. They had no evidence other than a woman just saying he assaulted.
So you think it was all a kangaroo court. Okay, and all the other women, they're all liars. Okay, we can move on now. So the threshold is you don't want him to murder somebody.
Like, look,
what about the 34?
What about
the? Okay, let's talk about evidence. What about the 34 counts that he's a felon that he was convicted of? Is that a kangaroo court as well, sir?
Convicted of what?
He was
talking about
34 felony counts that he was not only charged with but convicted of.
Mm-hmm.
Does that bother you at all?
You're not talking about the. Well, I don't really know the specifics.
You
of
don't
that
know.
I mean, I don't know if he's.
You don't know the
No,
specifics.
because, like,
don't you think that's kind of important in a presidential election?
You're talking about when he made those with those payments with Michael Cohen. Is that am I correct about that? You're not talking about any sexual thing.
So here's the thing. This has nothing to do with sexual stuff. Donald Trump is a 34 count felon. He has other charges, the Jack Smith case and other cases. But the fact of the matter is he's a 34 count felon. You've already admitted, thankfully, that if he murders somebody, that would probably at least say, okay, I'll vote for Kamala Harris. I mentioned the liable sexual abuse. You're throwing that out the window. You don't think that was fair for him. I mentioned that
show me some significant evidence that he did it, Brian, and then I'm perfectly willing to agree with you.
The jury saw the evidence, and they found in a court that he was liable for it. Now, if you want to wish-wash that, the jury saw the evidence of it, and they...
Which was what?
I wasn't in the jury. I didn't see all the evidence. I trust our courts, and you don't, obviously. But I brought that up
because I mean, what do you think that OJ was innocent too? I mean, courts can obviously get things
and guess
wrong.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad you mentioned that. You know why? Because OJ was found liable for double murder. But you want to poo-poo liable civil courts. Oh no, OJ was found liable for murder. I'm not saying courts always get it right, but there's something called credibility, and credibility meaning that there are over 30 women that I believe that claim Donald Trump sexually abused them. He's bragged about sexual abuse. I can grab them by the kitty cat. The guy has talked about his own daughter, that he would date his own daughter if he could. He's made despicable statements about women his entire life. He's crapped on our military. Suckers and losers, what he said about John McCain.
Literally not, but it's not enough to prove. He could say a million women could accuse him, or you, or me, or anybody else. Okay, show me the actual literal evidence that he did. Yeah, a jury of his peers. Again, in a state that, what is New York City a friend to Trump?
I don't have a video. I don't have a videotape of Donald Trump sexually abusing a woman, but I have a feeling that if we showed you that videotape, you would say that it was edited by George Soros, with all due respect. The problem I have is I'm listing you all these things that he said, okay? Donald Trump talking about John McCain. That's one thing right there that I wouldn't vote for anybody. When you say you don't respect somebody because they were a POW when they were captured, all the statements that he has made, draft dodging the military, the lies, the cheating, the scandals, the felonies, the sexual abuse. Now you say, okay, murder. Okay, I'll vote for Harris if you murder somebody.
You just asked me a simple question about murder. You could have said anything. I mean, that would just you're just giving some kind of outlandish example of if he literally killed somebody right on video. Then yeah, I wouldn't vote for him. But again, I'm not voting for him now, so that's kind of not really a relevant thing to make.
But you're also not voting for Harris, and you haven't given me, in my estimation, you haven't given me any real reasons why.
We already talked about the whole her funding all these, wanting to fund all these ridiculous wars.
She did not approve. She did not approve any of those funds. She's the vice president of the United States. That was Joe Biden.
She's talking about how she wants to.
No, she is not talking about how she wants to. In fact, to the contrary, she's been talking about how we need to support Israel, but they have a responsibility to not kill innocent people. That is not true, sir. You're blaming Kamala Harris for funds.
Well, why would they say they have a responsibility to not kill innocent people if you think they're not killing innocent people? Why would they have to?
I never said they're not killing innocent people. There is a difference between an intention of killing innocent people and innocent people dying in a war. Do you think the U.S. had an intention of killing hundreds of thousands of innocent Iraqis in the war in Iraq? Did you think we went in there because we wanted to kill a bunch of innocent people? No.
No, but that's an apples to orange comparison.
No, it's not. There are war. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Well, yeah, but it's not black and white. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It has a completely different relationship.
In war,
they clearly want to kill every single one of them.
That you are 100% factually inaccurate. With all due respect, sir, you don't know what you're talking about, and I appreciate the conversation, but you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm sorry to say this, sir, because I do appreciate our conversation. You are an ill-informed voter. Israel is objective. This is why this is so ridiculous, with all due respect. If Israel wanted to wipe out Palestine, they have the weaponry to do so. They would wipe out the country. They have the weapons to do so. How is it possible you don't understand that? You think that America willingly is giving money to Israel so that Israel could kill every single innocent Palestinian person is absurd. That's just stupid, sir. And it's not true. It's not true. So you're not voting for Kamala Harris because you think she's giving money to Israel, which, by the way, the vice president doesn't approve funds to Israel. So you're factually inaccurate about that. That would be Joe Biden that has final say. And you're also claiming that they're intentionally trying to wipe out all of the Palestinians, which is also not true. If they wanted to do that, they would nuke them tomorrow. They have the weaponry to do so. So you're ill-informed on this issue, and you're saying this is the main issue why you're not supporting Kamala Harris. I appreciate the conversation, sir, but you're just factually inaccurate, and that's what makes it frustrating. We're all entitled to our opinions. Kamala Harris hasn't approved $1 to Israel. And number two, they're not intentionally trying to kill Palestinians, and the U.S. actually does not support that, and Kamala Harris has talked about it. Let's go to Amelia. Amelia is next up on PTL. Hello, Amelia.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, what's going on?
In through the nose and out through the mouth. Just breathe a little bit, sir. But I'm going to go ahead and shut this guy down because I do believe that many people have forgotten about during number 45's reign that he implemented the family separation immigration policy.
Correct.
Okay? And then what? He'll talk about, and you hear him talking about, oh, we don't know where these children are. Oh, they must be killed or murdered or whatever else. Well, yes, they were probably, but it was on his back.
Right.
Because he started it.
Yep.
And it was shut down. Okay? And still, yes, unfortunately, these are things that, but on another note, I am in Georgia. And now we're going to go to the gun violence thing.
Yeah.
And I do believe that Kamala Harris, if she could gather some of these other women who have lost their sons to murder from gun violence.
Yeah.
Lucy McBath is the 6th district of Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay? Her son was Jordan Davis. And that was his teacher.
I'm having trouble hearing you, my dear. I think you're, I'm sorry to cut you off. Your phone dropped out on me there. You're welcome to call back if you'd like. I want to hear that story. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Herb. Herb is next up on PTL. Hello, Herb.
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
What's up, Herb?
All right, listen, here's my question. Because that caller you had a few minutes ago, he brought up an interesting point that the Biden administration wants to allow illegals to come over the border. But let me just ask you.
That's not true.
Okay. When Governor Abbott put those barriers in the Rio Grande River to stop illegals from coming across the river by swimming and stuff like that, he put those barriers in there. What did the Justice Department do when they put those barriers in the river?
Right. The reason why the Justice Department ruled against it, and they didn't want that to happen, is because it would be inhumane, and a lot of people regard that as more people dying at the border, and that's why that wasn't eventually implemented, Herb. And I support that 150%.
Okay, they were already dying because they were drowning in the river.
There are people that die. There are people that.
They had. Wait a minute. Let me finish. They had Border Patrol agents trying to save the illegals that trying to get across the river,
Herb,
and they were dying.
Herb,
they were drowning.
Herb, I didn't say that
so
nobody.
They put barriers in the river
Herb,
to prevent them from coming.
I'm trying to give you some background on this. I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to this issue. Okay, well, I don't think you do, because the reason why did the Justice Department decide to do what they do then? What was their explanation? Do you know their explanation?
The explanation was, I'm telling you what it was. I just told you. They put barriers because.
And why were the barriers taken down? And why were they taken down? What was the explanation behind that?
Because the courts ruled against Texas, and they made them take them down.
And why did they rule against it? What was the explanation? That's my question.
Because the federal government and the Biden administration, they want illegals to come across the border.
That is not true. Another ill-informed caller. Herb, I'm gonna inform you because you are ill-informed. The courts never said they did that because they wanted illegals to cross the border. Joe Biden never said that because he wanted illegals to cross the border. That is not true. That is your interpretation, and it's a very stupid one. The reason why, and Joe Biden talked about this, and many of those courts and judges and statements that you could look up, which is public record, the reason why, because they said it was, quote, inhumane, and more people would lose their lives trying to cross the border. Herb, you have absolutely no frickin' idea what you're talking about. Now, if you think we should have barbed wire and maybe people should shoot people at the border, then you can go ahead and you can have that opinion, my friend. But I have something called compassion, and the guy who you are going to support is the guy who has no compassion for anybody. That's the man that you are voting for, Herb, is it not? You're voting for Donald Trump.
Yep.
Right.
Yes,
you proudly are voting for a man who wants to tell a woman what to do with her own body.
Right,
you are
Brian,
aren't you proudly voting for a man who is a liable sexual abuser? You're proudly voting for a man who dodged the military. You're proudly voting for a man who said Kamala Harris turned black. Hey, Herb, if you don't mind me asking you, are you a black man? Or did you turn black? Herb, are you a black man? Oh, Herb hung up the phone. That's too bad. Herb, did you turn black? Would you vote for me if I told you you turned black? You talk to me about border security, and you bring up a topic where you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. You claimed ignorantly on this show that the judges who ruled against those barriers in the river, that Joe Biden, who endorsed it, the reason why they did that, because they said they want illegals to be in this country. You are a liar, or at a minimum, extremely uneducated and ill-informed. I just gave you their reasoning for it, and you have no idea what you're talking about. Next time you call into this show, have a clue what you are talking about, you MAGA moron, you. Have a clue. Because every single time somebody seems to call into the show that criticizes the Biden administration, which I'm okay with, by the way, but usually when people call into the show that are Trump supporters, and they want to criticize Kamala Harris, for example, oh, well, she's allowed all that money to go to Israel. She hasn't signed off on any of it since being the vice president. Or the last caller who just called in. Oh, you know why they're not allowing the border to be built thoroughly and finished? Do you know why they're not putting those barbed wires in place? Do you know why they're not doing all those things? Because they want illegals to come here. No, they don't. That's the way a dumb person thinks. Mostly people that will be supporting Donald Trump, Herb, like a Herb, MAGA Herb, who cowardly hangs up the phone again. You and Donald Trump have something both in common. You're both cowards. He dodges the military. He won't debate Kamala Harris, and you don't want to continue a debate with me. You're a coward. Let's go to Amelia. Amelia is next up on PTL. Hello, Amelia.
Oh, I'm back. I'm sorry. We had a bad connection.
Oh,
here.
go right ahead.
We're trying to recover from hurricanes or whatever, but it does seem to me that, a lot of people, history is an important thing, or forgetting the fact that while he was in number 45, was in office, that he did implement that family separation immigration policy. And now all of a sudden he just wants to go out there and talk about where are all these kids or got murdered and this, that. And, and that bothers me a lot.
It should. And I appreciate you calling back. I appreciate you calling back and saying that, Amelia, because I share your grievances on that one. 150%. I appreciate you calling back. Let's go to Karen. Karen is next up on PTL. Hi, Karen. What's going on?
Hi, Brian. I'm up here in Canada, and when January 6th happened, I knew it was going to happen. I could see it happening. So I could see it happening months before it happened.
Yeah.
It seems like you guys have a World One and a World Two situation where normal people are believing the information that they're being provided, but they're also listening to left and right news media, whereas MAGA is only listening to two different stations, and they're so brainwashed that I'm worried about a coup number two.
So I hear your grievances on that, and you should be worried. I think we all should be worried, and I appreciate that. What's problematic to me is I assume, and I'm usually right, that you're right. Many of these MAGA people are ill-informed and uneducated. You know, I just had a MAGA caller call in who had no idea what he was talking about, why the courts ruled they did when it came to an immigration policy. But that's par for the course, right? What's problematic is the last caller, who's not voting for either candidate, who seems like a nice guy, but he blames Kamala Harris for the money we're sending to Israel, and then even worse, thinks that Israel wants all the Palestinian people to die, wants them all off the planet. And what he doesn't understand is that if Israel wanted the entire country off the planet, they would get rid of that country with the artillery that they had. It saddens me when people don't vote for somebody because they're ill-informed on an issue or issues. That's what's really problematic to me.
Well, plus they're not keeping up with everything that's going on.
Right. Now, listen, if somebody doesn't want to vote for Harris or Trump or vice versa, we have the right as Americans not to vote. I'm not criticizing somebody. Listen, if you don't want to vote, that's fine. But what I don't like is the reasoning behind it, like that gentleman who called in who claimed that Harris is the reason why Israel's getting all this money, and we're intentionally somehow funding Israel so they can kill a bunch of innocent Palestinians. There's no question that innocent Palestinians have died, but I don't believe that's the intention of Benjamin Netanyahu. They're trying to defeat Hamas. And it just, that type of misinformation stuff, it bothers me.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think that Trump meeting with Orban and with Netanyahu is like they're undermining?
Absolutely.
They've already have all these plans going on, and
absolutely.
I truly think that I truly think that Gaza, like after Gaza happened, I think Netanyahu is defying Biden and going with what Trump
I agree.
wants.
I agree with everything you're saying. I think Benjamin Netanyahu is way far to the right. I'm not a Benjamin Netanyahu fan. And I agree with everything you're saying. They absolutely are undermining this administration, just like Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump sending his COVID test there in the middle of COVID to the Kremlin. Let's go to AJ. AJ is next up on PTL. What's going on, AJ?
Hey, Brian. I'll be the first guy to tell you that I know nothing about politics. I know nothing about policies, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
What I do know is character.
Mm-hmm.
I look at Trump, and I see he's just not a good person. He's just something about him. It just says, nope, this guy is bad news.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%, and that's okay if you're not involved politically. I can tell you from my perspective, obviously I do a radio show and I try to keep track of current events politically, but I can tell you the one main reason why I'm not voting for Trump is because of what you just said. The man has no character, and that has nothing to do with policy. He's just an awful human being. I believe he's a racist. He's a bigot. He's a silver spoon in his mouth ever since he was a kid.
Exactly.
He's a terrible businessman. He was given a $500 million company from his father, all the businesses that have filed for bankruptcy. So I don't think you have to be politically savvy or even up to date on everything that's going on in politics to understand what you just said, which is he's a really bad guy with no moral compass, and I will not vote for somebody like that.
It just baffles me. What is about him that people hang on to everything he says? Like,
hatred.
what is it about
Hatred.
him that?
Hatred. They're eating our cats and they're eating the dogs, attacking migrants that come into this country. You know, they're rapists, they're bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people. Attacking women on looks, having nicknames for people, just being a hateful, bigoted in nature, horrible human being. And if you want to see a bunch of horrible human beings, go to one of Donald Trump's rallies and you'll see it for yourself. I've seen it firsthand. These are bad people that are following bad people. These are dumb, bigoted, uneducated people that are following Orange Man. I mean, this is who they are. And it's unfortunate, AJ, but I got to tell you, I appreciate people like you. You don't have to know a lot about politics to understand who Donald Trump is, and you do. And I'm glad you're one of those people. And that's why, we gotta find more people like you out there that are going to be voting for Harris. Let's go to Lewis. Al Lewis is next up on PTL. Hi, Al Lewis. What's going on?
Hey, how you doing, Brian?
Good.
Yeah, I'm calling from Colorado. I found you probably 3 weeks ago.
Oh, thank you.
And I really love the way you present your case and how you show the facts so people can properly understand, especially this MAGA fungus.
Yeah, that's one way to put it, right? Yeah, that's one way. That's one way to put it. MAGA fungus. He grows on people. He grows on the racist bigots in the United States of America.
Exactly, because that's how I call them, because you got to be careful with the fungus because they spray so quickly.
It's a disease. It's a disease. He's like a fungus. It spreads. It's unattractive. It's nasty. It's disgusting. Nobody wants to be anywhere near you. I think most women in this country look at Donald Trump as a big 400-pound fungus. That's what I think.
Exactly. And probably, but okay, as an outsider, because I'm originally from sub-Saharan Africa, Cameroon.
Yep.
And
well, Donald Trump would say you turned black, right? Donald Trump would say you turned black.
Exactly.
Yeah,
He's definitely going to say that. He's definitely going to say that. Basically, I'm calling for one of the callers who say that Joe Biden administration they don't want to give the number of the people that are crossing the border.
Mm-hmm.
But as a factual reminder for everybody, the lowest administration that ever cut down the border crossing. You have Obama administration,
right,
and Joe Biden.
Right now, you make a good point. Right now, there are less people crossing the border than there were when Donald Trump left office.
Yeah, that's factual.
Yeah.
This MAGA fungus, they can go and check it.
You know what? I'm going to use that word from now on the show, if you give me permission, MAGA fungus. I like that one, my friend, and I'm so glad there are people out there from other countries that are calling into this show. I wouldn't have it any other way, my friend, and I'm so glad you're a listener of the show. It was great to hear from you. Thank you so much. Let's go to Dave. Dave is next. What's up, Dave?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Good.
I just want to thank you for having the guts to talk like a lot of other people would like to be able to talk to total ignorant fools.
Yeah.
And to put it right out there, like you're an ignorant fool for thinking what you're thinking. It's not a fact. It's untrue. And it's so wonderful to hear someone like you just call them out. You call these people out. You were asking who was the guy you had on about the dance, and two people who
oh yeah
you would do Donald Trump's dance that you would.
You're talking about
the stand up there.
The if we can say on the air, the masturbation dance. Yes, go right ahead, sir. Yeah, who were the two people?
Who was the guy that you had on that you had on for quite a while? David Pollock or
David Pollock? Yep.
Who was that?
Yeah, David Pollock. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I would choose him because of his blind support of Trump to have to stand up there and make a fool of himself in front of that crowd and Mitch McConnell.
Well, I'll give David a call and I'll recommend it and see if he wants to get pleasured by Donald
Trump.
Tell
him if he loves Trump so much, get up there and do that dance with him.
David, I'm going to tell him you suggested that. Okay, I appreciate the call.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Have a good weekend. Oh, boy, we really have to take a break, don't we? No, we're going to keep going here. I'll take one more call and then we got to go to our guest. All right, let's go to Wayne. Wayne, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing, Brian? Just wanted to call in and drop a little bit of news on you. I just announced today, like within the last hour, that North Korea is going to be sending troops to Russia to help them in the Korean War. So you can thank Trump and MAGA for bringing us to the verge of a world war, because they're counting on Trump winning. Because, he's all in bed with the rest of the dictators. And even if he loses, he will cause such distraction here that the U.S. won't be able to mount a proper
He'll be weak on the international stage.
I got to tell you, sir, I'm up against the clock here because we have our next guest. I was unaware of that, but I am not surprised. Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin, and Donald Trump have a lot in common with one another. Donald Trump is a wannabe evil, murderous dictator who has written love letters to Kim Jong-un and continually coddles Vladimir Putin. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm glad you mentioned that, if that is true, which I'm sure it is. And I'm not surprised. Now, we take a lot of calls every day on this show, and that won't change on Monday. But I always like to end the show on Friday on a positive note. It helps me with my health. It helps me with my blood pressure, and it puts me in a better mood. And what better person to do that? You've seen her, of course, on late night talk shows. You've seen her on Dr. Phil. And of course, Jimmy Kimmel, multiple times. She is a former pastor turned life coach. Thank God she got out of that lifestyle. And she joins us right now, the beautiful and talented Nicole Mitchell, joining us right now on the show. Nicole, it is always a pleasure having you on. How are you?
I'm so good. Happy Friday. Happy weekend. It's here.
I know I say this every Friday, but I'm going to say it again. I need a weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Your
I'm
weeks are so intense, Brian. You definitely are someone who needs weekends.
They are, even though it doesn't end with the politics, but this will be a positive. No, it's not a Trump rally. I'm actually going to see Barack Obama speak in Las Vegas tomorrow.
No way.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
he's going to a local high school here. He's going to be speaking. So that's going to be pretty cool. Whenever Barack Obama speaks, I listen. So that's going to be actually a lot of fun. And so I'm looking forward to that. So I always like talking about these cool stories with you that happen throughout the week. And I wanted to start off by talking to you about something including health, which has to do with rewiring a brain, with stimulating a brain. And it's like, I think of the new technology that comes out, seems like on a daily basis, but this one's pretty cool. Tell me about this wiring of the brain.
It's amazing what technology can do these days. Now we have the opportunity to help people with all kinds of different abilities, disabilities, especially when there's been health crises and health problems. And so we've had anything from where, like, one of the latest things I was reading about is these bands you wear around your arm, right, to stimulate nerves when the brain to your body connection has been broken through a stroke or different diseases or issues. They put this band on your arm and it stimulates the nerves between your brain and your arm, trying to make your brain reconnect to your body. And there's a testimony of this woman where her arm was useless. She couldn't use it. She would always have to hold her granddaughter from one arm. And then through this use of this armband, she's able to hold both of her granddaughter with both of her arms. She's like, I felt strong. I felt safe. Like, she felt more connected to her family as a result of a band on her arm, because of its connection to her brain. So these, like, small things that drastically improve someone's quality of life, that just makes me so freaking happy for them.
That is so cool. I've never heard of that before. That is super cool. You know, Nicole, we live in a world now where robots do a lot, right? Machines, computers, robots. This is interesting because I never really heard about this before, where apparently there was a robot that took apart e-waste so their components could be reused. How the heck does that happen?
Okay, so I have issues with humanity for many reasons, as you do too, Brian, right? We have issues with the havoc and the destruction and the harm that we do to each other, to the planet, to the environment. And at the same time, if humans have the ability to harm it, we also have the ability to heal it. And so I love learning about this one young man who has this vision of repurposing as much of our materials, especially our tech materials, before we throw them out, right? And so he's building these robots with absolute amazing precision, being able to take trash and take mostly like computers and tech items and unscrew, take apart all the different components needed, and then use those to refurbish the next computer, the next tech thing. And his goal is to make technology reusable 4 to 5 times before it's ever thrown out. And he's working with big tech companies, making the different bolts and screws that are used to help hold the tech together, designed in a way that where it's easy for his robots to take them apart. And so they're saying, like, these robots can take apart an entire piece of technology in 5 minutes. So using technology to reuse technology to help sustain the use of it to protect our earth, I'm all about.
Now, that's a good thing. I like that. But there are some people that would say they're afraid that robots are going to be taking all of our jobs one day. I don't know if a robot could do a radio show, but I guess probably for right-wing conservative talk radio. They already are robots.
Oh my God. You're like,
but
please take over my radio show. You work for me, robot. You make me the money while I lounge
yeah,
at the beach.
that's how right-wing
Like,
conservative talk radio works. They're all right-wing robots. But yeah, I mean, there are some people that are afraid of that, right? That robots are going to take their jobs. I mean, you look at some fast food chains and they have, not necessarily robots, but the technology used to take your order.
here's the thing. I mean, there's truth to this, right? Robots and automations are taking a lot of jobs, and it's like heartbreaking when has been your source of income, but also you're human, you're genius, you're able to think of something new, and so like take your creativity, take your own genius, and see what else you can do. So, for example, even in my own business as a life coach and OnlyFans model, I'm already incorporating AI wherever I can because I don't want to be left behind. I
Right.
want to be up with the trends. And I'm not afraid of AI replacing me. I'm afraid of people who know how to use AI replacing me. So if I can learn some of the stuff that AI is offering us in my own businesses, I will stay relevant. So wherever you are, if AI or technology is pushing you out, look how you can either learn it to incorporate in your business now or get a job and learn the skills. You're not ever stuck.
Yeah, no question about that. So I think, like I said, there are still some people out there that maybe they're not technically savvy and they're afraid of robots taking over certain things, but I haven't seen anything really abundantly clear in front of me that would lead me to believe that it's a bad thing for society, right? I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it can be used. It's neutral. And if you have a good heart and you have a good head on your shoulders, use it for good. Learn it, incorporate it, and use it.
Absolutely. So, Nicole, tell me about this new SpaceX landing its rocket on a dime so it can be reused and launched back into orbit. This is kind of cool. I'm not very savvy when it comes to these types of things. Explain this to me.
I know. I watched the video yesterday, actually. So, Elon Musk has a ton of issues. And one
That's
of
for
them,
sure.
obviously, one of them is his arrogance, right? He's pretty arrogant, but sometimes his arrogance is accurate. So said years ago, someday I'm gonna take the heaviest object that's ever been made and pluck it out of the sky. And people thought he was crazy. They called his theory nuts. That happened. So they took the spaceship, which is the heaviest one so far. I think it's 250 tons. They shot it into space and they designed it that it would come back down and it's like plummeting to the earth super fast. And then they slow it down and it comes right back to the I can't remember the technical term, but the part that was holding it before it shot off, it comes back and the arm reaches out and grabs it and it landed back down. And now it gets to be refueled instead of being rebuilt. So it's saving a ton of money. It's making space exploration way more affordable and attainable. So it's a huge step in development. It's a huge step in financial savings and a huge step for humankind to see that we have the ability to launch stuff into space, bring it back in perfect condition, and literally all you have to do is refuel it.
I've never heard of that before. I mean, this is something else. That's absolutely insanity technology today. I'm not one of those people that ever got deep into science and deep into this sort of stuff, but at the same time, it is very fascinating. Would you ever want to go to space?
No.
Why not? Why not?
Space is absolutely terrifying to me. And I think the ocean or space are equally terrifying, but I am much more drawn to the ocean over space. What about you?
Well, I can't swim, so I would have to go with space. So
would you go if you were given the opportunity to get in a space shuttle and go into space? Would you do it?
Probably not, just because I'm very claustrophobic, and that would be a nightmare for somebody who's claustrophobic. So I would say if it was a spacecraft that was bigger room than this studio, then I would consider it maybe, but it would also be dependent on who I'm with. Like if it was you, I would say totally cool. If it was with one of my dude friends who I don't like looking at every day, taking their shirt off, then it would probably be no. So I think it depends on who I'm with. I'm just being honest with you.
You're a smart man, Brian.
Yes, I want to be around somebody that is pleasant to look at, and I'm just being honest with you. So yes, so basically what I'm trying to say is I would love to be locked up in a room with Donald Trump in outer space for 2 weeks. That's what
that is your dream come true.
Absolutely, dream come true. Nicole, I love it how we laugh at the end of the week on a Friday, and I always appreciate it when you come on. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I always look forward to your stories for next week. Okay.
Thank you, Brian. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, Nicole. Good to see you. Have a good one.
All right.
Nicole Mitchell, everybody. Always a pleasure having her on the show. She's the best. Yeah, I'm just being honest. If I'm going to be in a spacecraft or heck, even on a plane for a couple hours, I want to be sitting next to somebody that's pleasant. That's all. That's all I'm saying. It's very simple. All right, so we're nearing the end of the show here. Please check out my friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill, the official gaming bar of the Pushing the Limits radio show. They got some great promotions every month, but this month especially, multiple promotions, including the Pass the Puck contest during a Vegas Golden Knights game with a chance to win up to $500 in free slot play. They have earned 350 points any Sunday from noon to 8 a.m., and you win $50 in free slot play. How cool is that, man? Slot play. I think I just called it slot play. I'm starting to slur my words like the United States, Donald Trump. That's what doing a radio show every day will do to you, ladies and gentlemen. But speaking of doing a radio show, we have an independently owned show here, kind of like public radio. What do we do to keep the lights on? We rely on great people like you. So here's something you can do to help us out. First, subscribe to my YouTube page, at PTL Radio Show, if you haven't already. At PTL Radio Show, also on X. Then go to my website, pushingthelimits.live. Sign up for the free newsletter. We sell merchandise up there. You can support what we do here. Shirts, hats, beanies, you name it, we sell it. If you don't want to buy merchandise, totally fine. Go to the front page. We have a donate button there right at the front of the page, which is pushingthelimits.live. Doesn't matter what it is, $5, $10, $20, whatever you donate, we appreciate. And that's what keeps us going here. And we appreciate your support. If you haven't already, thank you for giving it a shot there. If you have, we appreciate you very, very much. I'm going to be going to the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, Barack Obama rally tomorrow. That's going to be electric. It's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to report on it and to tell you what happens on Monday. Other than that, it's going to be a very relaxing weekend for me. And I'm looking forward to that. Maybe watch a little bit of golf. Just going to have some fun. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Pushingthelimits.live is the website. Can't be here without all of you watching. Please spread the word on this show. Give me the thumbs up on YouTube. The engagement always helps. Love all of you very much. Even the few MAGA supporters that call in. We'll see you on Monday, everybody. Have a great weekend.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering